No, really. Kia ora guys, welcome back to the Wholesome Half Hour at the beginning of term 2.
A marvellous term. The second term in a set of 4 brilliant times of the year.
A time for celebration of all.
Yeah, I love celebrating the beginning of term 2. Yeah, I like starting the morning with a good,
6 a.m. wake up by your mum,
Yeah,
where she
6
turns
a.m.
the lights on and leaves your room and
I
expects
hate
you just to get up.
Yeah.
Not speaking from personal.
Is that a very traumatic experience in your life?
I mean, honestly, yeah, and the habit didn't even last like into university.
Yeah.
If anything, it made me sleep in worse at first because I was like, oh, this is new. I haven't been able to do this before.
Wow, I love sleep. Actually, I don't know. I've been sleeping better recently, which is like unheard of in my life. Yeah, I've been sleeping earlier. Been very responsible.
Oh,
Waking up earlier, it's great.
Ugh.
Becoming an adult.
You're so together.
Wow.
Weird. You're an adult when you have a regular sleeping schedule.
I didn't say it's regular, I just said it's earlier than it used to be.
Fair. Okay. All right. Anyway, I hope you guys are looking forward to getting back into the term, and if not, sorry, but bear with it.
You have no choice, so you might as well be enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what the man said. So we thought in this episode, rather than just talking about term 2 in general, because we thought about it and we're like, well, it's kind of a nothing term. Like you're just going to keep doing internals.
More of the same, yeah.
It's going to be, more of the same. So what we thought would be useful is to sort of reassess maybe any goals that you have made for yourself at the beginning of the year, or any goals in general, and talk about the pros and cons of making goals and the importance of reflection in this process.
Should pull your colour.
Oh,
so
it keeps wanting to.
Slopes less, yeah, there we go, like that.
Is that better?
Yeah, it just looks better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I tried fixing it earlier and it just wasn't.
RIP. But yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, yeah, at the beginning of the year, you always set the goals, like it's classic, and as the year goes on, they can sort of fall apart. Actually, one thing I've been doing recently is at the end of last year, I was like meditating like pretty much every day, like really consistently. But I don't know, once you break the habit, like getting into it, it's hard again.
Yeah.
So one thing that I did that's real simple is just like made I just got a piece of refill and wrote out like all the numbers in the month. And like like I'm trying to do it every day, so like I can see, like I cross it off every day, and there's nothing more annoying than seeing like one day where it's missing. So like that's actually like a really good, and like as you get further on, you can like see like all the days crossed off, and like you don't want to break the streak and stuff. Yeah. That's like definitely a good way if you want to do something like daily or weekly. Yeah, I love a good streak. Yeah.
Yeah.
RIP Snapchat.
I also think it's good to revisit some of this kind of stuff because goal setting is something that you will occasionally do in class if your teacher feels the passing whim to do it with you guys.
Socially obligated.
Yeah. However, it really does not at all come with this obligation of revisiting it in class later.
Yeah.
And quite often what that results in is it just never being revisited. And which means that you forget or you're no longer engaging with the habits that you are aiming to set for yourself. Yeah. And it's easy just to kind of like forget about it. I know this because I'm speaking from personal experience, because goal setting was like forced upon me for like every year, like always at the beginning of the year.
Always at the beginning.
Always at the beginning of the year. Yeah, never ever again. And like that is a surefire way to not follow through with a goal, is because you're no longer engaging with it. You had to make it, but that was it.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that brings me to, I guess, my first main point in goal setting, or in looking over the goals that you've made for yourself for the year. You need to make sure that they are specific. And if they're not specific, what you need to do is break it down and make it specific and make it actionable.
Yeah.
Now, by actionable, we mean like, what steps would you have to take to achieve this goal?
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to give yourself this vague notion at the beginning of the year that I want an excellence endorsement for the entire year.
The classic NCA goal.
The classic. And it's like, okay, that's all well and good, but that's big and that's vague and that's not something you can achieve in one step. So what that needs is to be broken down further.
Yeah.
And I know that in myself, I played the NCA system a little bit because I suck at externals. So I always focus to have my endorsement before my exams. Again, that's still not really enough to go off, but that was something that I had at the back of my mind.
Yeah.
It's a start. And what you need to think about is, well, okay, if I want an excellence endorsement, let just go through this hypothetical. Well, how many credits do I have available to me internally? How many credits do I have available to me externally? And of these standards, which ones do I feel that I would be most confident or most easily able to get excellence on?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can kind of work backwards and think, well, if I'm aiming to do this here,
if I'm aiming to do well on this external, that's a test.
Yeah.
How much time do I have allocated to studying for that test and testing myself before that test?
You can see that a goal like getting excellence endorsement for the entire year is ginormous.
Yeah.
As far as goals go, it is so big, and that's one of the reasons why it becomes so hard to achieve is because it's so big. There are so many moving parts to it, and it's difficult to pin down exactly what you need to do at a given time.
Yeah.
Another really fun vague goal is I want to get in shape.
Yeah, another classic.
Because it's like, well, how are you going to do that? Do you have a schedule? Do you have a regime?
What do you mean by in shape?
Yeah, what's your definition of fit? Do you want to just be able to lift things? Do you want to be able to run fat? Two very different things.
Yeah.
And honestly, a regime off the top of my head doesn't come to mind that you could do both.
Yeah.
At least not without a long time. But like, it's important that you're asking yourself these questions when you're making these goals, because what you're doing is ensuring that you can actually achieve them.
Yeah, let's take that fitness one a little bit. So say you wanted to get more fit. What does that mean? So let's say you decided, I'd recommend like if you want to get more fit, like do a baseline of where you are now. So like say you want to use, say running as a metric. How fast can you run 1 kilometer? Literally 1 kilometer. Let's not get too extreme. So like time yourself running 1 kilometer, either just do it once, or if you want to give yourself a shot, do it 3 times over 3 days and see how fast you can run that. And then you have that baseline. Then decide how you're going to train. Ideally, if you're doing like a fitness or like health-based routine, ideally you're doing it 5 or 6 days a week. That doesn't mean you have to go and run for 45 minutes 5 or 6 days a week. That means you're doing something towards that 5 days a week. So if you're doing 6 days a week and you're training for cardio, for like running, stuff like that, 2 of those days could be stretching.
Yep.
1 of those days could be like light resistance or like body strength work. And like, so only 3 of those days could be running. And those 3 days don't even have to all be like hard out. Maybe one day you have a hard run and then 2 of those days you have an easier run, something like that.
Yeah.
But you're building in the fact that you're going to do something every day. Yeah. And then it becomes more of a habit when it's like a daily thing.
And with this as well, as you begin to break down these goals...
You're forced to. When you say you have to do something for this 6 days a week, you have to break it down. Yeah. And because you have to break it down, you can also consider if something doesn't work out as well. Quite often with goal setting and stuff like that, you might hit, like, say you had the excellence endorsement example, just because that's one that sort of has that time constraint. Say it got to the beginning of term 2 and you felt like you bombed term 1. Yeah. And so it's like, it's not giving up on that goal altogether, it's re-strategizing. Yeah. And so it's also, it's not just saying, well, how am I going to achieve this? It's how am I going to achieve this in the most ideal situation? And how am I going to achieve this if something also goes wrong? Yeah. Because that's something that people don't often accommodate for either. No, definitely.
And the result of that is that as soon as it goes astray, as soon as something goes awry, you don't want to continue with it anymore because you're like, well, that's it. I guess I'll start again next year. Like, like that is definitely the attitude that people have. They're like,
And if you're like, so if we go back to the running one or the getting fit one, if you're doing 6 days a week, if you miss a day, you've only missed 1 day out of 6. Yep. Whereas if you miss 2 days, you've only missed 2 days out of 6. Whereas if you're only doing something once or twice a week, if you lose 1 or 2 days, you've lost like an entire week or 2 weeks. Yeah. And that's just it as well. It's not over-analysing what you don't do. It's appreciating what you do as well. Because I think quite often people work the other way around and they have that mentality where, I missed a day here. I guess I'll just start again next week. Yeah. And it's like, well... You can always do something today. Like, you can always change something today. I feel like people really forget this. Like,
I don't think that they forget it. I think that they
It's
want to
convenient
put it off
not
for
to.
later
Yeah.
because that means it's like future me's problem.
Like, just because you like had McDonald's, like that doesn't mean from like this minute forward you're going to like reduce the amount of junk food you eat.
Yeah, it's. I think it's important in any kind of goal setting. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, for example, just a different one. You know, if you are struggling with your mental health or something like that, you might have the goal for yourself that you want to handle your assignments on the deadline given in the class.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Is that reasonable?
Yeah. It's definitely reasonable. I can't. Just straying off topic a little bit, but a friend of a friend has got like 6 assignments at university overdue, and I genuinely do not believe that I would be, if I had 6 university assignments overdue, I would not be here.
No.
And my mental health would be
I think I would
really
just
in the
tap out of this
gutter.
realm.
Yeah.
I would just leave this
not
plane.
good. Not good.
I'm going to transcend.
Very
I don't care if I
bad.
go up or down.
I
I just don't want to be
do
in
that.
this dimension anymore.
I don't know how people do that.
Yeah. So, you know, if maybe your mental health is something that you struggle with and you've found in the past that it has, it has impeded your ability to hand everything in on time, like in the past, you know, you might just say, oh, you know, what I want to do this term is make sure that all of my assignments are handed in on time. And it's like, that's reasonable. Like, you can do that. Like,
And how are you going to do that? Like,
Yeah.
Are you going to create an assessment calendar so you can see, like, at the beginning of this week, oh, this is what's due this week and this is what is due next week?
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, you can work out, okay, so if this is due on Friday, how much time do I need to allocate to this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you guys are probably already picking up on this, but
you need to like think ahead, but then don't leave it in the ahead. Like think ahead and then bring it back step by step.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly it. Because what I was going to say is clearly you guys can tell from this conversation that goal setting isn't just writing like 3 things you want to do this year and never returning to it again. It is it's thinking about what is achievable for you, what you want to do, and then thinking about how am I going to get there. Like, it's not just writing a sentence and forgetting about it, because it's not enough. It's not enough, team. So it is.
And like regular check-ins with your goals are like good. So like on my phone, I have a reminder every day that's just like meditation.
Yep.
So like every day I like check in with myself if I've achieved that goal, and I still have time left in the day to like go remedy that situation if I haven't. So like checking in with that goal like every day or every week, however you want to do it, either through some sort of routine or even if you just want to set a reminder on your phone. Very easy, very smart.
Exactly. And I think it's difficult because I think going through schooling, we're quite often fed like goal setting as this just super vague, mostly just a waste of time kind of a task because it's never revisited. I think one other thing I wanted to sort of break down when I was mentioning the goal setting and stuff is the difference between what's called a process goal and an outcome goal.
Yeah.
So if we're going to take Saren's example with fitness, your outcome goal is overall what are you aiming to achieve here?
Yeah.
So I want to be fitter would be like the outcome. But the process is, you know, having a schedule 5 to 6 days a week that you are following, and that you're regularly, you know, maybe every 4 weeks or so checking in on yourself and seeing, you know, what kind of progress and stuff that you've made as well. And that's really important to do along the way and that's what these check-ins do really well is you can see the improvements you've made. You're not just putting all of your efforts into like a void somewhere and you're not like noticing anything. Because I think it's quite easy for us to
like even just the simple reminder that you did like your task for the day, like and like you can see that you did it every day.
Yeah,
that's like a really simple thing, but it shows you that like you can see the progress being made.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that consistency, and it's the like you might notice that your times are getting faster, or you're able to run further, and that's like really satisfying as well, and that spurns a lot of people on and keeps them motivated is because they can see the progress and they want to keep this progress up. Whereas if you don't check in on yourself, you probably aren't going to be quite as in touch or quite as informed about the progress that you actually have made.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you do sort of like fall off the wagon, you don't feel as inclined to get back on because you're like, oh, I didn't really know what was going on anyway.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree.
Yeah. I think
I want to go back to the fitness thing. This is just because this is something I watched a few weeks ago and I talked to you about a little bit.
Oh,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
this like idea with fitness, and I feel like this applies to everything, but I'll talk about the concept within fitness and then we'll broaden it out a little bit. There's this idea that in fitness that like every time you work out, you have to be working to like 80, 90, 95% of your like max
capacity, yep.
Which is like not true. And also like, so think about it, if you're truly working to 95% of your max capacity, you're gonna be sore, you're gonna be tired the next day, and you're not gonna train the next day. So then you only end up training 2 or 3 times a week. Whereas if you train, say, to 60 or 70% of your max capacity, you can train more often because you're not sore every day, because you're not pushing your body to its absolute limit. And because of that, you clock more hours doing it. You get better overall because over a week, say you did 5 pull-ups a week, but you did over 6 days, that's 30 pull-ups. Whereas if you did 10 pull-ups and push yourself right to your max, but you could only do that twice a week, that's only 20 pull-ups. And then over a month or something, that's quite a large compacting effect. But also you just enjoy it more because you're only doing 60 or 70%. And it's not as hard and you enjoy it more. So again, you do it even more.
Yeah.
And over time, that's way more better. Like that's way more beneficial than just like going hard, but then either dropping off because it's too hard, or just not seeing results because you're not doing it as often as you can because you're pushing yourself too hard. And that applies to studying as well. That you don't have to try study for 4 hours every weekend.
No.
Like you're much better off just like 40, 50 minutes a day, or even 30 minutes a day if it's like real focused.
And I think with that as well, it comes with this idea that, or it comes with the assumption that everyone is also at a different place.
Yeah.
And like I think when people feel the need to constantly be pushing themselves to the maximum at all times, it's because people want to perform well, or people want to be able to perform, you know, at their best at all times. And it's kind of like save that for game day. Like you don't want to be doing like pages and pages of exam papers like right before your exam because you're probably going to get really burnt out. However, regularly practicing exam answering technique over time, you'll gradually build up this skill and it will become more natural to you, as opposed to like rote learning or like jamming a bunch of this formatting stuff in your head like in one big session the day before. And I think the one other thing in terms of goal setting, and this may not be like an awesome thing for everyone to hear, but like you have to be realistic with yourself.
Oh no, absolutely.
Like, I know that even
you're not going to get ripped in a month.
Yeah, like, and even if I was like a gym buddy, which I most certainly am not, like
got your old Gymshark outfit.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I would also know that I will never look like a Baywatch person or something like that. And I'm okay with that because I'm like 5'3". And like, I just don't have that kind of like body type or whatever. But it's being realistic with yourself and knowing your parameters. However, in saying that, in education, I would argue that you can do anything, but it depends on where you're starting from and how much progress you can make in a given amount of time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
For example, if we're going to return to the goal of like an overall endorsement over the year, if you're usually an achieved student, like you can work really, really, really hard and get an excellence endorsement at the end of the year if you work really hard. But that comes with the acknowledgement that it's probably going to be more work than if you were like a mere average student. And like, this isn't to be savage. This isn't to be...
It's just like...
it's just being real with yourself and knowing what you're capable of. And when you say, like, I want to achieve this, also bear in mind how much dedication, consistency, and commitment it's going to take. And if you are willing to both invest that time, and if you think you can logistically do it and keep it as a sustainable habit.
No, totally.
You have to understand your own parameters. Like, I know mine. I know what I suck at doing. Like, I know what I always have to give myself like big time allowances for, because I know what I like and what I don't like and what I might put more effort into.
It's all about making incremental changes, right? Like if you're currently doing we'll take the classic like study or fitness. It's essentially the same application. If you're currently doing nothing, going from doing nothing to training for like an hour and a half, 6 days a week, super challenging.
Even just training like 6 days a week and going from nothing is a lot.
Yeah.
Like even that, your body is going to be like,
oof.com.
Oof.com.
But like 3 days a week or 4 days a week, every second day, and even like 10, 15, 20 minutes, like if you can build a consistency, then you can pick up more a lot faster.
Yeah, exactly. It's and it comes back to what you were saying about going at 100% at all times, or 95%, or whatever. The idea is there. You're going to burn yourself out, and if you're constantly trying to push yourself to the absolute maximum at all times, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be your mental health, it could be your education, it could be sports, it could be your fitness, it could be your social relationships with people. If you're burning yourself to 100% at all, if you're giving your all, like 95 to 100% of yourself in that, like you are going to burn out. It doesn't matter what it is. Like you're always like, I love hanging out with my friends, and then it gets to holidays and you're seeing like one of your best mates for 3 days straight, and you're like, God, I just want to stop looking at you. Like
I had this experience.
Like it happens. It happens, and it doesn't matter how much you enjoy, hanging out with your friend, or
I don't like being with people for 3 days straight.
Like
Takes
nobody
a toll
does.
on the mind.
Oh. It's just one of those things. Like social stuff in particular is probably one of the easiest examples of, it's good, but everyone has their limits of, you're much more social than I am.
Really?
Oh, hell yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not a very social person.
That's fascinating.
Well, maybe not very, but at least compared to you. I'm not as proactive.
Oh yeah, interesting. I get stressed if I'm not proactive.
Yeah, see, I'm just lazy all the time.
I don't like the idea of like not seeing people for 3 days.
I love that idea.
I could do it for like, ironically, I don't like being forced to see people all the time either. That like stresses me out, but like within control and within defined parameters, I like a certain amount of social time in each day, but not too much.
But everyone knows
like a fuel
their
tank
limits on that kind of stuff.
And
that's just it. Like, in the same way that different people have different like social fuel tanks, people have different like, mental capacity tanks or physical capacity tanks. It's just something that everyone has to deal with. And the sooner that you sort of come to terms with your own and understand what you are and aren't comfortable with in a regular, sustainable basis. I don't know how I started that sentence, but if you can know that about yourself, you can more appropriately make goals and expectations for yourself, because you know your own expectations.
No, I totally agree,
Yeah.
And just like, knowing what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Like, you probably know, but just being that balance of like optimism, but realisticness as well.
Yeah. It's hard, but it's...
A bit of trial and error as well.
And that's part of it, and that's why, we say, you're not going to get it perfect the first time, and that's why you should, and when you make goals or when you're thinking about the things that you want to achieve, thinking about, well, what will I do if this first one doesn't work out? What's your plan B? Sort of the last thing that I wanted to mention with goal setting is reflection. And this is probably the second most disliked task after goal setting in terms of beginning of the school year. However, this one is reserved for the end of the year.
Which is arguably too late, and it really isn't. It often doesn't happen.
And it's also
if it does,
it's also usually like you're expected to reflect on the vague goals that you made at the beginning of the year that you haven't engaged with it all throughout the year either. So it's like you're just pulling at straws. So I guess for anyone that doesn't know what exactly reflection is, how would you sum it up?
Going over goals, or just like taking, if like, I would almost take it as if, imagine somebody else interviewing about like how your life is going, but like doing it with yourself.
Interesting.
Like from the perspective of like from a more objective perspective than you might usually think about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's just that being real with yourself.
Yeah. Whenever I like reflect, I'll like kind of go through everything and see like, am I just happy with this because like that's just how I am, or is this like objectively like a positive thing?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I do that like quite often. I do that like fairly constantly.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, no, that is a good point. I think my tactic with reflection, I have like a pretty like sandwichy kind of like pretty like methodological way of doing it. I always think about a specific thing.
Yeah.
Not just like how's your life going in general, because that's very loaded. I always think what went well, what didn't go well, why didn't it go well, and what can I do in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
Or to help minimize or mitigate it as much as possible if you can't fully get rid of it. So, for example, I could probably give a pretty... Oh, okay, so like probably like a couple of weeks ago, and when we're like week through, we have to do heaps of reflections as part of our jobs as well, which is why... But it's good. It's good. I have a deep appreciation for it. So, for example, I might say, like the beginning of my week, I felt like it went really well. I was really productive all the beginning of the week. However, I felt like I began to derail towards the end, and I didn't have as much direction and didn't quite know how I was going to get things done, or whether or not I was doing things right. And so, well, what could I do in the future to make sure that that doesn't happen again, or to help mitigate it as much as possible? If I am feeling lost, what should I do? And it's like, maybe you should get in contact with someone, touch base with someone and clarify things. Is it a case of your own personal organisation, which in my case, I felt like it was. So the thing that I tried to do the next week was give myself like time parameters for the goals things that I wanted to do throughout the week. Like I always have like a to-do list. I always have like a living to-do list. Yeah. And I find that I'll do like a big chunk of stuff, but then like there'll be the same thing that gets like pushed to the next day every time. It's always the same thing, and it's usually like a really small 5-minute task as well. Yeah. And so
I try to clear those out on a regular basis, because otherwise I'll find like reminders. I use reminders a lot because I don't remember things very well. But I'll find myself pushing back the same things again and again. And maybe like once a week, I'll try to catch myself out and look at all the things I've been doing. And if anything I can do in less than 20 minutes, which is often most of them, I'll like try to do then and there. Yeah. And you feel real productive because you've cleared through like 6 items in like half an hour. Yeah. Yeah. I got a way better deal on my broadband at home.
What's that got to do with anything?
Fact. I was like putting it off for a while, and then we got like gigabit internet at the office, and like right. So now I have like a real sick deal.
That's good. I'm happy for you.
For fast internets.
Good.
Gotta download those.
Nice.
Study documents.
Nice. I feel like a lot of the tasks that I put off as well are like the same tasks every week.
Yeah.
Like it's the same recurring task, and so
I think I relaced one of my shoes. I haven't done that for like a month. Yeah, I only worn them like 3 times.
I've been meaning to clean a pair of my shoes for like
a month.
I
do that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always shoes.
So what I do is
that's the answer.
When I write it on my list again, the next week, I also give myself like you have to do this within 2 days of getting it, and that gives myself a deadline to get those things done that maybe nobody else would chase me up on otherwise. Yeah. Or something that could like snowball into like a really huge task, which can definitely happen as well.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that is what I find so useful about reflection is it's acknowledging what was good, but I think for me, the main thing that I get out of it is actually engaging with what went wrong rather than keeping it as like a vague like, oh, this didn't really work, and not even revisiting it again because you only think about it in that moment. So I actually have to take some time to think back about what went wrong and actually think about what I'm going to do in the future to help stop that. And I know for myself that's quite often a thought process I would not have gone through if I hadn't like forcibly set myself down just to reflect on things. Like, I think it's quite easy for us to just in our mind be like, oh, that didn't go well, and it sort of just gets like lost. So I think
totally agree. Sorry, I'm not
you're
tired.
good.
I'm just tired.
Nice. I think it's just a good way to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, I think this room's too warm.
Okay.
Yeah. You need your room to be a bit cold. Keep yourself on edge. You don't want to be too comfortable. You don't want to sleep too much either. You want to be always a little bit on edge.
That's just you, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I feel, yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add with reflection?
I did, but I forgot what it was. I forgot a long time ago.
Oh, no.
Were you going to ask me something? You should ask me something.
Oh, I was going to say, what do you find the best thing, or most useful part of it for you?
I feel like, I feel like it's easy. Oh, now I remember what it is.
Even
wow. Okay, so like,
didn't even have to set
essentially, I don't know how I remembered it, but essentially your life is I don't know, people like to think of, when people think about their life and what's going on, people like to think of the particularly interesting or the particularly exciting things, like the holiday you go on, or like the ball, or like the holiday, or the ball, or the party.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I want to repress that
but
as well.
In reality, your life is a collection of days, most of which consist of waking up, going to school,
dressing yourself,
doing anything else you do in your daily routine. And your life, for the most part, is just a collection of these days where you just go to school and do whatever else. So if you want to make some sort of change, like if you want to make a positive change in your life, you shouldn't be like, I need to go on like a holiday and like reimagine my world. You should like you should reflect on what you're doing every day and see like, are these things contributing positively to my life? Are these things that I do every day, like see my friends, is that making me happy? Is that having a positive contribution? Is that having a neutral contribution? So maybe school, in the future it will have a positive contribution, but if I look at contribution, and at currently in terms of like how much it contributes to my happiness, so let's say it's neutral. And then let's say what is not contributing positively to my happiness or how I feel about life. I really don't enjoy how much time I spend playing Fortnite. Relevant. But like doing that sort of thing and like trying to make that collection of days so there's more and more positive things and more things that you enjoy and look forward to and just make you feel happy about yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But really looking at those like everyday things rather than like
you got to find fun in the mundane.
Yeah.
You shouldn't live for moments.
Like every day, I'm not even joking. I'm not even making this up. Every day, or like 6 out of the 7 days of the week, I'll like brew a cup, speciality, light roasted filter coffee.
I know because I
like,
get this.
Brew it nicely,
the message every
and like I'll brew it, and then I'll get the spoon out, and I'll do the cupping with the spoon and taste it. I really enjoy it. But it's just like a cup of coffee. Like that's all it is.
Yeah. I think it's in terms of that kind of stuff. I think it's just like finding an appreciation in the small things that you would usually maybe take for granted, or like just like unapologetically enjoying some small things. Yeah, like making a cup of coffee.
Yeah, like making a cup of coffee, or if you're hanging out with people, just like enjoying it and like realizing that this is like
a good time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just like acknowledging that in your mind, I feel is underrated.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think reflection.
I don't know. I didn't really realize this until someone pointed this out to me. It's like you get really excited about like random, like boring stuff. Like I'll like get literally I'll get something like a new pen or like a like stand that my laptop goes on that's like $20.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, this is like the best thing ever.
Yeah. But like, I remember when you got that stand.
Yeah, I'm so psyched. My sister like made fun of me for it, but she's in Christchurch now, so I don't care.
She does.
You're so out of touch. That's what she said to me. But it's like, I just like enjoy that stuff and like finding like excitement in that stuff. Like you only have something to gain out of that. Doing
Yeah,
that.
well, exactly. That's just it. Like people can be like, oh, you get excited at like small things, or you find happiness in like weird things, and it's like, yeah, but they're good, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not
like there
is no criticism there.
It is a net gain to yourself.
Yeah, like if someone was like, you find the weirdest things enjoyable, it's just like, thank you. Like that shouldn't be misconstrued as a bad thing, because how dare I be happy, or how dare I find like satisfaction
if you can
or
do
enjoyment
something
in
every day that you like really enjoy, like that's brilliant. Like is that not the purpose of life?
Yeah.
Or if not the purpose, like I don't know, a key contribution to happiness.
Yeah, no, like for sure. I think it's difficult to constantly feel like you are not living for the day you're in, but living for like Friday, for example. You know, like
the biggest fallacy in the world.
It's one of those things like, you know, you should look forward to maybe not the entire day, but you know, maybe something in your day.
And if you're not looking forward to enough of your day, like what can you do to change that?
Yeah, exactly.
Because like you can always, I think people really underestimate how much control. Like sure, you have to show up to school.
Yeah.
What? But that's still, school is a third off. Like say you're awake 16 hours a day, you still have 10 hours.
Yeah.
You can do so much in 10 hours.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
can literally work another job full time. I wouldn't recommend doing that.
No, don't do that.
But you could. Like I'm just using
don't read
that
the
as
shit.
like an example of like how much more time there is to like do it as you please.
Yeah, for sure. I think
If you enjoy
ultimately,
playing Fortnite, you should do that.
yeah. I think ultimately it is like the whole point of this discussion, and the whole point of us even bringing out, you know, goals at the beginning of term 2 and the ideas of reflection and stuff like that is for yourself to assess how you are going. And, you know, if you've made any goals for yourself, whether or not you've written them down or just, you know, had a thought, think about it. Think, well, how can I manifest this? How can I turn this into an action that I can do? How can I work towards this? And also, you know, if you've been working towards it actively in the last term, you can think, well, what went well and what didn't go well? And, you know, be as objective with yourself as possible. And the idea of this as well is to be checking in with yourself, keeping yourself accountable and celebrating your successes, not constantly like ruminating over your like perceived failures, because like your decision not to go on a run one day a week is not like the make or break to your whole fitness journey. Ultimately, it's not.
Yeah.
It's up to you and the attitudes that you decide to take going forward that is most important.
No, I totally agree. Is that a good place to leave things?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I just thought I'd
good.
sum it back together.
If you have anything favourites, if you have any favourite parts from the show, you should let us know below with like a timestamp and why you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. If you have any ideas from what you want to hear from us for the rest of the term, you should also let us know. Anything else? If you liked my black beanie, you should leave a comment as well. This is like one of the most generic beanies I own.
It's a Tommy one, eh?
Nah, it's not. It's actually, I know it's got the Tommy colours, but it's not a Tommy one. It's from Cotton On.
Interesting.
An ethical clothing company.
Now we're not going to lie on camera, but that's fine.
Wow. Wowie.com. I've really got into the .com.
You have gotten into the .coms.
.com, .net, .net.au.
.govt.
.govt.nz, yeah.
Okay, so that's been it from us.
Yarns.govt.nz.
That has been it from us this week. We hope that you all will go into term 2 with a positive attitude, and if not, I hope
Go have
that...
some bubble tea.
Yeah, go have some bobber. We love that.
I'm not actually into bubble tea. I like bubble tea stores though, because they often have bubble waffles, and I'm into that.
Interesting.
Is that what they're called? They're called bubble waffles, right?
I think so, yeah. I know what you mean. I know what they are.
Is that what they're called though?
Either way, that's it from us for the first week back of term 2.
The circle waffles.
In comments as well, you should also let us know maybe like some of your own goals and what you think you need to do to try and help achieve those as well. And treat it as a mini exercise of figuring it out for yourself. And because we'd love to hear what you guys want to do both for yourselves in the long term and how you're going to get there. Yeah, that's it from us. Thanks for watching, guys. And listening.
Have a marvellous rest of your week.